And we are the Coalition Loud and Proud. Again, this evening we made the trip, the journey, the multi-day event. We're in Chippendale, Rhode Island, arguably the Paris of Western Rhode Island. Wonderful evening tonight. As you know, the coalition goes on the road to both Democratic and Republican fundraisers, and very often there we'll catch up with state leaders like we have now, Senator Jessica De La Cruz, and just ask them a couple of questions, and also just ask them about Mike Chippendale's potential impact. Great style, Blake Flipley, great minority leader, but Chip's a different person, a different style, and let's talk about that because this is an important political moment in the state. The torch is being passed. And there are some confounding issues that are about to challenge the state of Rhode Island. So, Senator De La Cruz, thank you. I know it's a packed house tonight. Folks having a lot of fun. But first of all, most importantly, congratulations on your legislation.
Thank you.
I know this was a multi-year event. Tell us a little bit about it. And, because I think there are still folks who are a little bit confused. Give us a little background on the legislation.
Yeah, I was confused. So, when I had heard that there was no law in place to protect children from ages 14 to 18 against sexual predators, I thought that can't possibly be true. And so I did some research and even through the AG's office, found out that I was wrong. And when I talk to parents, they also have that same disbelief. No, that can't possibly be right. But so to explain to those watching, not any longer, but previous to just recently when the governor signed the legislation, between the ages of 14 and 16, children could consent to sexual contact as long as it wasn't penetrative, and it had to be consensual. So it could be a coach, a counselor, a teacher, or anybody in a position of authority over a child. And from the ages of 16 to 18, it was permissible to engage in intercourse with a student as long as it was consensual. So, and the age of consent in Rhode Island is 16, so that makes sense, except that children cannot consent to a sexual relationship with somebody who is an authority over them.
Right.
And the issue, one of the standout moments for me was when I was in committee, the ACLU came to testify in favor of a bill that made it illegal for those in police custody to engage in sexual acts with a police officer or a correctional facility officer. And they said, because of the power differential, people cannot consent. And I thought, yeah, I can get behind that, it's true. And then when my legislation came up, they were very much against it. And I thought, how can you be against protecting children, but yet adults who can consent, but there's a power differential and really probably shouldn't consent because, again, the power differential. So it's like mind-boggling to me, but it is true that was the case, and it was just Rhode Island and Massachusetts, but now it's just Massachusetts. Apparently that's permissible still.
Well, congratulations for that. I know a number of people are relieved. It's been a difficult year with school systems. We all know. Another conversation, another time, but we all know what's going on in North Kingstown.
Yes.
And
yes, exactly.
It's astonishing what the reality of our, I'll call it our litigious society here in Rhode Island versus what people think it is. And the issues that they think they're protected from are based on anecdotal evidence, and the law betrays them in so many cases.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
And I gotta just give you a shout out because it's not just me. There were parents that came out in droves to testify, that emailed committee, that called committee members. I also had other advocates that came alongside. So it was definitely a group effort, and I felt like it was just like the stars aligned. And I think because of COVID, the positive is that parents are more in tune and more aware, and they're paying attention. So I would be on the lookout for very engaged parents in the future.
Yeah, parents have inserted themselves dramatically into the political process. The not so subtle irony is that the political process hasn't welcomed them, despite for years claiming that an involved parent, whether it be in the educational system or in the legislature, would be welcome.
Right.
It turns out that it's a certain, let's just say it's some parents are welcome into the legislatures. Others have to literally knock the door down. So to the degree that this has empowered parents across the board in a variety of educational, societal, criminal issues, We should be thrilled about that.
Yes.
The process should reach out and be inviting, encourage people to engage.
100%.
But we know, you and I know the reality of that. This is an event tonight to celebrate Mike Chippendale. Packed house. And again, for all the teasing about Chippendale, this is in the western part of the state. A lot of people drove a long way. Mike, for a long time, has been considered one of the good guys in Rhode Island government. I think, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, it's a different style than Blake Filippi. Blake did a great job. Chip, it strikes me. Well, I'm going to ask you first. Not to differentiate between the two, but what strengths do you think Mike Chippendale brings to the minority leadership position?
Well, I first got to know Chip when I ran for office in 2018, and he, along with a couple of other legislators, were absolutely instrumental in my success, and I mean that because when I had a question, I would call these individuals and say, is this a good idea, or can you read this over for me? And if I had a question about legislation, how a vote went down, or where I would find that information on a vote, those guys were very helpful. And as a freshman senator, I would often talk to Rep. Chippendale, even Blake Filippi, and just ask, how do I navigate these waters, right? I have this piece of legislation, it's really important. As a Republican, I know it's not going to go anywhere, but how can I be effective in getting the information out, educating the voter, the populace? So he has a style which I think people assume about Mike or Rep. Chippendale because we're from the northwestern part of the state. They're from the Burrillville, Gloucester. He's not Burrillville, but I represent Burrillville. But we're from the Gloucester area, and they must, whatever misconceptions that they have. But he is absolutely sharp. He is so intelligent. I call him a wordsmith because he can really write, speak, articulate himself very well. And I think he's going to do great things for the caucus. I think he's a good leader. I've seen him in action, and he brings everyone to the table, listens to everyone, and then comes to a conclusion. So I think that's what makes a good leader.
He's got a demonstrated capacity to work across the aisle as well, doesn't he?
Oh yes, 100%. Yeah.
And that, as the Republican Party is a minority party in the state, that's going to be equally critical in terms of attempting some type of balance, in terms of being able to offer another person's perspective. Just a quick reaction to this on the 2A issue.
Yeah.
The organization Moms Demand Action was present in force at the bill signing of the 3 bills, a number of which are probably considered unconstitutional now. But the head of Moms Demand Action nationally referred to ordinary Rhode Islanders who oppose these restrictions on the right to bear arms as being extremists. Do you think the voters that you represent are extremists in any matter?
I cannot stand that kind of rhetoric. I really can't, because I represent people that respect the rule of law. I represent people that when they read a book, a document, a piece of paper, a constitution, and they come to the conclusion that we as legislators have an oath to uphold, they're not extremists. They're educated people that can read and understand, and can't say that for some of those red shirts or the moms. Yeah.
Fair enough. Senator Jessica de Cruz, thank you for joining me tonight. Go back out to the party. It's kind of a celebration of all things Chippendale, and I know that we'll continue to talk as we get closer to the election, and as importantly, closer to the legislative session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.